let's explore a little bit more of a fun way to ensure that they fill out your form or your quiz or whatever completely. So let's go back one more time. Let's right click and go to properties. So we need to make sure that these are deselected. Value is false. Same with this. Value is false. Okay, so now we've got a clean slate. What I want to do is this button, I'd like for it to be invisible. That's right, the invisible property. So we're going to learn about that, and in the same lesson we're going to learn how to trigger it by one of these buttons. But I'm not going to program the macro in each and every click event. I'm going to send each and every click event to a separate macro that's going to analyze the same details. So first of all, right click on this button and go to properties, and I want to mess with the visible. So instead of true, I want it to be invisible. So double click, and you're going to say, well, wait, how are we ever going to find it again if we need to mess with it? Well, I'll show you. Basically, if you turn design mode back off, now we're in like real mode, so the button is not there until we say it needs to be there. So if you go back into design mode though, it's still there. When you click on design mode, you can do whatever you want with it, resize it, whatever. It's only invisible when you're in like the regular mode. That being said, let's go back into design mode and let's do a little maintenance here on our new procedure. So for the apple, let's double click on it. So now we have, just by double clicking, we have this new event, the OB apple underscore click event. And so what I want to do, I don't want to type up a whole macro and then copy and paste it and waste all this space. Let's just create a module that can store this macro. No, scratch that. Let's remove that. No, don't even save that. Let's just create a new macro right here. We'll call it sub, and we'll call it analyze OBs. Analyze the option buttons. Hit enter, and let's go ahead and start writing our macro that we will send all these to. So the macro is going to say essentially the same thing as these. I could copy and paste this, and in fact I will. But we'll go through it in detail. So if the apple or the donuts or the candy is true, then me.command_button1.visible equals true. Else, well, quite the opposite. me.command_button1.visible.vi. I just type vi and then the equal sign will autofill that. If otherwise that equals f tab false. So if one of these is selected, then great, the button becomes visible. You know what? No, that's not true. Okay, we need to modify this a little bit different than the last one, because we need for all the results to be true, not just one section at a time or they get a no-no message. So what we need to do, we need to say if the apple or the donuts or the candy is true, and this stuff down here. So let's copy and paste this. If this is true, or this is true, or this is true, and if this other stuff is true, or this other stuff, or this is true. So now the statement is correct. If the apple is selected, or the donuts is selected, or the candy is selected, and basically one of the drinks is selected, then the button becomes visible. Visible equals true. Else, or otherwise, the button is false. So we can actually pretty much take everything away. So yeah, that's all you need, is one option selected for each category, and boom, there's your button. So let's see if that actually works, shall we? So the button is not there, right? Also, we select an apple. So does that answer the full macro? No, it says one of these is selected and this or this or this is selected. So let's click on apple and iced tea. And, oh, crap. Okay, there's one more thing we need to do. Did you guys catch it? Let's go back. Oops. Let's go back. What we need to do is put the trigger event, the click event, on each one of these, pointing to that macro. So let's go ahead and do that. So we already started on Apple. What we want is this macro called analyze OBs. So we're going to say call paste analyze OBs. And I'm going to just double click on each of them and hit paste. Whenever the donuts is clicked, we're going to do the analyzing. Whenever this is clicked, analyze. Coffee, paste, Control V, double click, Control V. So now we're ready to go. So, boom, this one triggers the macro, and let's see what happened there. Let's see what happened there. Design mode. We'll make the value of this false one more time, and we're going to make this button invisible again. Yes, okay. So this time, whenever we click on one, we'll see what happened. We triggered it. Okay, so is the apple true? Yes. This, or this, or this, or this, or this. And me.coffee equals true, or me.soda equals true, or me.iced tea equals true. Let's see. Hit F8. Well, no, I disagree wholeheartedly. Let's see here. Okay, I know what's going on. Basically, what it's saying here is the apple, if the apple is true, or the donuts is true, or the candy is true, it's thinking we're talking about the candy and the coffee is true, but then we keep on and saying as long as one of these 6 is true. So no, that's not exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to segregate them, but I don't want to put a bunch of ands and ors and stuff. So let's just use some parentheses. We'll put a parentheses right there. So with the food stuff, is if one of these is true, or this is true, and then we put some parentheses just like you do in math, and this is true, or this is true, or this is true in parentheses, and then it'll kind of analyze it as a group. So if you hover over the parentheses, it says this is true, or this is true, or this is true is equal to true. And if you hover over this parentheses, coffee is true, or soda is true, or iced tea is true is false, because none of those are selected. So now it should cooperate. Hit F8, and it goes to the else, which keeps that invisible. Visible equals false. Okay, so now we're finally good. So if I click here on donuts, it triggers it again, but once again, it's still not all that we need. Now, if I click on coffee, it'll analyze both these groups, and it'll say, hey, we're good to go. Let's allow them to click this submit button. And just so it won't be so terrible looking, I will go into design mode and change the caption finally to submit, which doesn't do anything yet. Anyway, that's how to make our thing here, our command button, appear whenever all the conditions are met. And I'll take that stop marker off and hit F5. So from now on, basically, the submit button will be there because they've made all the choices. It should also be noted that you can do any of the same click events, double click, etc. Let's just take a look here. You've got the change event and the click and double click. We've already went over the click. You got a double click. I mean, you can look through these, but just to show you, there's a got focus. So if somebody focused or clicked on or tabbed over to your control, you have key down. So if somebody had clicked on a certain control and then they just happened to press the certain key that you wanted them to, etc. Lost focus, mouse down, mouse up, mouse move. We've reviewed these earlier in the chapter on these controls, and also in the events. Some of these were covered, so check those appropriate titles. If you don't know what a double click is, you don't know what a mouse up is, just check the title in the previous chapters.